The federal government is finally suing a rail company responsible for causing major Amtrak delays. And to that, I say the following: it's about time. For some channel related background, my third ever video on this channel cited freight rail as Amtrak's biggest problem. And part of why I saw and see freight rail as Amtrak's biggest problem is because freight rail companies often refuse to grant priority to Amtrak trains over their own trains. And that is in spite of a federal law saying that Amtrak trains should get priority on freight rail tracks. Because some of the freight rail companies often break this law, Amtrak trains often end up getting heavily delayed. This service unreliability, in turn, makes potential customers hesitant to use Amtrak and other Amtrak customers hesitant to return. The one way the aforementioned law can be enforced is if the federal government, namely the Justice Department, sues a freight rail company over delays they cause Amtrak. And this was done once, decades ago, but it hasn't been done since. Until now. In the last couple of weeks, the Justice Department filed a lawsuit against Norfolk Southern, alleging that Norfolk Southern frequently causes delays for the Crescent passenger train between New York and New Orleans. Allegedly, Norfolk Southern causes those delays by forcing passenger trains to wait while their freight trains pass. And the result of this is that a whopping 24% of New Orleans-bound Crescent trains were on time last year. That is just downright atrocious. Critics of the suit are asking why the focus is on the Crescent line for Norfolk Southern, when there are so many other poorly performing lines from an on-time percentage standpoint. What I would say is this: while there are other lines that perform poorly, and some performing even worse than the Crescent trains, the Crescent is nevertheless the worst performing train, either predominantly or exclusively run on the tracks of the worst performing host railroad. I say that Norfolk Southern is the worst performing host railroad because in Amtrak's 2023 Host Railroad Report Card, they gave Norfolk Southern a 4-year GPA of 1.81, the worst of any of the major host railroads in the United States. The reason Norfolk Southern got such a dreadful GPA is because they so frequently ignored the law about giving Amtrak priority, instead prioritizing their own trains and delaying Amtrak trains in the process. Because Norfolk Southern has such a pattern of causing delays, I think it is perfectly reasonable for the federal government to try and make an example out of the worst performing line for the worst performing host railway. Overall, my feeling is that it is about time that host railways are held responsible for delaying Amtrak trains. I hope the federal government will win this lawsuit, and that this lawsuit will spark an era when freight rail companies actually follow the law on the books when it comes to rail track priority. The law says that Amtrak gets priority over freight rail, and it's about time that the law be followed, or else there be consequences for not following the law. Bravo to Attorney General Merrick Garland and U.S. Department of Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg for trying to get freight rail companies to follow this law. If you have any thoughts on this subject, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below. Also, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Thank you and have a good day.